Most people use macros for connecting their outboard gear, like Ableton Push or other knob-using devices. That way, when they're playing live, they can adjust the sounds of their tracks at will in minute ways. And that's sick. But for those of us who just recently were let out of our end-of-days bunker where Josiah and Mary taught us the teachings of Gloppy, the masochistic catman, there are also other uses for macros. For instance, I like to use Kontakt. That's because it houses my favorite string plugins like Spitfire Solo Strings and Cinematic Studios. But one thing you need to know about making any real-world instrument sound good as a virtual instrument is that it has to suck. Having a perfectly played instrument isn't realistic. Even the greatest players have tiny inconsistencies or mannerisms that make it human. So we need the ability to implement human-like imperfections into our virtual performance. You can do this live, but that takes time and effort to perfect. And I get mad when things aren't immediate, like global warming. Get it over with already! So instead of performing to make our strings sound real, we need to implement automation. If you don't know how to do this, I already made a video for you. Kontakt does not play nicely with automation. Whenever you click on a Kontakt parameter in automation mode, it won't show up, which fucking blows. So this doesn't work. Okay, bye. Boy, you better get back in that studio and finish this video, so help me. I'll rain down hellfire so bright and hot it'll make Gloppy shake in his boots. Yes, ma'am. We can get by this by using macros. Here's how to do it. Put that instance of Kontakt into a MIDI track. Click on Kontakt and press Ctrl-G to turn it into a group. What this essentially does is create an instrument rack that houses Kontakt. You can put multiple instruments here and even create different variations. This thing is insane. I'll make a separate video on that because it's dope and y'all deserve it. If you open up the button with the circly thing, it opens up the macros. You can assign whatever parameter you would like to one of these macros and then adjust the parameter from here rather than where it is. So you wouldn't even need to have Kontakt open to manipulate the parameters of one of its instruments. But we have to do something to make it work first. Open up this arrow button on Kontakt, then press Configure. Now inside of Kontakt, go ahead and manipulate whichever parameter you want. I'll do the dynamics for this particular violin. Now once I click out of Configure, I can adjust the dynamics directly from this bar here. Now we need to route to our macro. Right click on the triangle button below the parameter and press Map to Macro 1. Now we can adjust our violin dynamics using this knob. I did it, mama. You finished it? Yeah. Let me check. Well, I mean, I'm gonna finish it. You lying to your mama, boy? No, ma'am. And from here, we can send the macro to the MIDI device of our choice, or, in my case, use automation to get the perfect balance of humanness that we all crave. Of course, to reach that sweet, sweet imperfection, we can't rely on just one parameter. Let's map out some more. We'll do vibrato, release, tightness, expression, and also mic distance, which is just reverb. Same thing, let's route them from our configure panel to our macro. One thing I noticed is that I like the reverb that comes with Spitfire, but what if I want to mess with others? I could utilize the send track, but in this instance, I want more control than that. What is your quest? World domination and a less abrasive belt. So instead, I'm going to add vintage verb into my instrument rack and configure the mix knob into a macro. Now we have two plugins being affected by the same macro chain, but I'll do you one better. I kind of like a blend of the vintage verb and the Spitfire verb. Because of this, I want to adjust them at the same time. So I'm going to add both of these to the same macro and call it reverb. Now with just one macro, I'm controlling two separate plugins with two separate parameters. That's pretty fucking dope. And that, my friends, is how you use macros. Honestly, I just realized how awesome these were. There's significantly more that can be done with these and the instrument rack itself. Be on the lookout in the coming weeks for a full deep dive on that. But in the meantime, press play on that like button if you're down with the sickness and to save me from the guaranteed destruction brought on by forsaking the one true God, Gloppy the Benevolent. Catch you later.